what's going on, guys? Andrew here, and if you can obviously tell, tonight's movie was not Night of the Living Dead. It was actually The Exorcist. The Night of the Living Dead one is next week, so I was a little disappointed that I wouldn't have to wait until next week. It wouldn't go like, you know, like ones that were ones that I was looking forward to the most was like later. I wasn't looking forward to Night of the Living Dead, but nonetheless, I got to see The Exorcist, which, as you guys know, tied for my favorite horror film of all time. And I gotta say, I just got back from it, by the way. Like, I, just walked in the door, thought I'd, put my thoughts down, like, right as soon as I got into the door, because I've seen this movie an infinite amount of times, and this was just seeing it in theaters. And honestly, the experience of that was just insane. The theater was completely filled. There were probably 200 seats and all of them were filled. I mean, there was not a single space. I think there was maybe 5 empty seats in the whole place. It was insane. I gotta say, like, I'll get into a little bit more of like what that actually was like in the specifics here in a minute. But I mean, if you guys don't know, it's basically about a girl who, like normal girl, the daughter of an actor, all of a sudden comes, starts acting really, really strange, and they go to doctors and everything. They don't know how to, they don't know what's going on. So they, it goes from like doctors, a psychiatrist, to a priest. Basically, and it also follows the parallel storyline is also with Father Damien Karras, whom, if you guys don't know, I've said it multiple times before on the channel here, that Damien Karras is my favorite character in any movie, period. Like, he is, like, I absolutely just, I cannot explain my love for his character. He's so incredible. Just because he's so well written, both in the book and in this film. Which, by the way, I have the extended director's cut up right now. That is actually the one that we saw tonight. I was expecting the theatrical, but we actually saw the extended director's cut, which, honestly, there's 2 scenes in it that I honestly can't even see why I would really want to watch the theatrical, because the 2 scenes that I think are like really important to the movie is her crawling down the stairs with that thing. That scene scared the shit out of me in the theaters. Like, I've watched that scene dozens of times and I was petrified when I saw it in theaters. Like, the sound of it just, it made the back of it literally, like, my hairs were standing up. It was an incredible experience. Like, that scene alone, like, makes me just want to watch the extended director's cut. Also, the scene, like, right after the main part of the exorcism, where they're sitting in the stairs, and then, Karras is asking, like, why does this happen, and Father Merrin gives his, whole like, his little, like, talk of it. That alone, like, for me, like, those 2 scenes alone are like the only one that I will watch regularly is this one. Just because of those 2 scenes alone, like, it's well worth it. Just everything about this movie is just perfect. Like, watching it in theaters, you can really see. Which, by the way, they had this new 2K or 4K scan of it, because it looked, it looked crystal clear there was barely any grain at all in this camera, and everything looked like you could see miles in the desert in Iraq and stuff. The camera work, the cinematography really stuck out there. Like I always thought that this movie wasn't as Jesus. This movie wasn't as like you know, cinematography, like the cinematography wasn't as strong, but man, this really showed the cinematography. Like it's like something you'd never experienced before. Like to me, every part of this movie is perfect. Like the like the acting, everything about it, the acting, the story, the characters. This movie tells a story that is like unheard of for like a horror movie, to tell a story and to tell this completely captivating story that it does so well. It has so many, like the movie would fail if it didn't have good characters. This movie has some of the best characters in any movie ever. Like I just like, I can't explain enough, like my not just for Damien Karras, but I think for Father Merrin is this like mysterious character as well, and like Chris McNeil is like really interesting also. Like all of the characters really just make you care for them, every single one of them. And Kinderman is just this like lovable, like fun guy. Hey, and sorry about that that cut there, guys. I forgot to check my I forgot to check my my camera, and it was running out of space, so I had to make space. Anyhow, back to where I was. Kinderman is very interesting as well, very mysterious. Now, with that being said, I at the beginning of the month I did start and I did read the book of The Exorcist. This is actually an original 1972 version of it, like an original copy, which it was great that I was able to get my hands on it. Basically, if you've seen the extended cut, word for word almost, the book is very similar to the movie. Although, like, there's a couple scenes where Carl is actually thought to be like one of the suspects in this. Also, what was I gonna say? The exorcism scene. Chris and Sharon are actually in the room for part of it. And also, the exorcism lasts like 5 days or something like that. So yeah, and yeah, so that's a little bit different. Also, like Damien actually, instead of just excusing himself from the room, he actually goes back to Georgetown and has a full conversation with Kinderman. I think for like, you know, for like wee early in the morning, like 3 in the morning or something like that. So that's a little bit of the differences in the book. Also, you know, you get a little bit more into the side characters and stuff, more into their character. You get to find out more about them. Because like Willie and Carl, you don't really find much about. And Burke Dennings, you don't find as much about as you do in the book. But all this stuff you can kind of be okay with for the purpose of the movie. It works perfectly for the movie. But yeah, as for the contents, like every part of the movie that was supposed to be scary was purely terrifying. And especially watching this in the theaters, all of the scenes that were really scary were really effective to the people that were watching it with me. For example, in the book, it is a little bit different. In the book, it's a tad bit different. But in the one scene where after Kinderman leaves, and there's that you know, attack upstairs, and Reagan's masturbating with the crucifix, that scene is much more explicit and would definitely be NC-17 if even done today. It's definitely very disturbing. But I mean, it's still very disturbing in the movie too. But I mean, there were gas, there was still stuff today, 2016. This is 44 years after this movie was released, and there was still shock in the theater whenever that scene happened. That was like, I was like, yeah, this thing's effective. When Damien Karras like jumps out the window, like this, it like echoed through the whole theater, and then when he tumbles down, there was people like just gasping and like, oh man, and you could just really see that these people were actually really into the movie, and that was like, that was really, really cool to experience that. Yeah, I mean, and like even afterwards, I stayed a little bit afterwards to kind of listen to what people's reactions were, and there was probably about like 6 to 8 teenagers that were sitting in like the third row with me, across the aisle from me, and they basically were like, well, the two of them were like, yep, not sleeping tonight. Well, there goes my sleep. Like, everybody, like, they were saying that. The girls who were sitting in front of me in the second row, basically were like, they stood up and was like, oh my God, that was so terrifying. And there was one guy who was critiquing the film outside, who was saying like maybe a couple of the scenes where she throws up and stuff was just unnecessary. But everybody, like, almost simultaneously was just like, just so like captivated by the movie. It was an incredible experience to get to actually like watch this movie and experience this with other people. It was like, for the most part, it was like an incredible experience. So yeah, that was me trying to do my experience of it in theaters with a review of the movie, and with throwing parts of the book in there, because I don't know how, you know, much of the a little bit more about Damien Karras' character, and then I'll finish it up. Basically, I don't actually know if it's in the theatrical, because I've never seen the theatrical. Basically, the scene that he walks into that insane asylum where his mother is staying, that pretty much sums up the character of Damien Karras for me, and the reason why I absolutely love him is this scene basically is like he is experiencing all this depression around him, and I mean in his, like, in real life too. Like, all of this is a metaphor for his real life. So everything I say of this experience of this scene is true of his real life too. So he's experiencing all this depression and all of this guilt because he cannot support his mother, and he wants to be with his mother, yet he also, like, wants to, he is experiencing all this doubt, loss of faith, loss of faith in humanity, loss of his faith in God. All of these things are part of the character of Damien, and I mean, pretty much like that scene, you know, that people are like, you know, they tear his, like, the white part of his robe off, of his priestly robe off, and like he like just shrugs them off and is very hostile towards them, because in the book he basically says, oh, there's a Jesuit motto from the Society of Jesus, which Damien's a part of, is that you see God in all things. That means in the lowest parts of humanity and in the highest parts of humanity, and everything, and in all parts of life, and all and in nature and everything. So like he thinks his thoughts go to, oh God, not them, please not them. That he's so discouraged and depressed and guilt ridden that he's not able to see, you know, the divine in everybody, and basically in the lowest points of humanity, because he's so distraught of seeing this all the time. So the psychology of his character is just an incredible experience to take yourself through in this movie, because he goes from, you know, being like just laughing at the fact of like exorcism, and then his experience to this, and then by the end of the movie, you know, he, you know, revives his faith in humanity and in his faith in God, and it's like this incredible like journey of like, yes, it is like and William Peter Blatty like does say that like he did mean it to be for like a religious sermon, but even if like you can't like just get on board with the actual content of it, the whole like not like complete loss of faith in humanity to faith in humanity is definitely something that everybody can, you know, have at least one time kind of experienced at some point. So that for sure is something that I you know, can connect to for sure. Yeah, so like every part of this movie is like something that I could talk about forever. For my rating of this this gets a 10 out of 10. For things wrong with it, there's not a single thing that I can say that I find a flaw in it. I completely find this movie flawless. Every part of it is just perfect. I would not change a single thing about this movie were I to make it today. In fact, if somebody were to pay me $10 million to remake it, I would refuse it. Like, there's just no messing with perfection. Like, it is a perfect film. 44 years later, people watch this in theaters and still had this effect to them. Like, even me, I'm still feeling like that, like, man, that was an experience. That was a brutal experience. Like, and it was like, yeah, man, I really would like to see it in theaters again. One day. Yeah, so with all that being said, this was probably a long ass review, but I had to get my thoughts of my experience in the theaters with it, and also my review of one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I could go on and on about I could go on and on about trivia of this movie. By the way, two trivias before I end this. Bear with me for the final two, because these are like, these really show the amount of effort that was put into this movie to make this movie the masterpiece that it is. William Peter Blatty basically, like, or William Friedkin, the director of the movie, basically like he would try to do things to scare them, you know, as authentically as possible. He would, you know, he would be shooting guns off, like, right behind the scene or something like that. Or he would, you know, he would try to do things like that to actually scare people. The woman who does the voice of the demon in the movie was a recovering alcoholic, and she knew that she could get her voice raspy enough while she was drunk. So she gave up her sobriety, had herself tied to a chair, and basically was psychologically tortured in order to be able to do this voice. William Friedkin himself has stated that that was the most traumatic, like, the experience of this whole filming. Also, at the end of the movie, William Friedkin wanted Father Dyer in the movie, which his real name is William O'Malley in real life. He's a real-life Jesuit priest. He wanted him to be shaking while he was doing the last rites. And he pretty much, he wasn't getting the shot that he wanted. So, William Friedkin took William O'Malley aside and punched him. And the next shot was the one that's used in the film. So, I mean, it's just like the things that they did to make this movie what it was is just incredible. So, with all that said, I could still continuously go on about this movie and the book and whatever, but I'm going to stop there. This is a long-ass review, I'm sure enough. But Again, thanks guys for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Please let me know. This is an absolute masterpiece of a movie, so please let me know what you think about it. Everybody's probably seen this. Everybody's got their own thoughts about the movie. Let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And yeah, please like it. You know, let me know your thoughts again. Thanks guys for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. My review for tomorrow is going to be The Witch. So that's another art film. So, alright guys, see you tomorrow with that review.